In the tunnel. In the tunnel. In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and welcome to In the Tunnel, episode number 8. Nothing to say about this one?
As normal, we go on a bit of a miniature hiatus, and then we come right back with topics that we should have covered last week.
Yep. Alright. So, topics we probably should have covered last week. NFL, right?
Yes, NFL.
Alright, so
Nobody's
we have
here.
a Chiefs-Bucks playoff. A Chiefs-Bucks Super Bowl in Tampa. So, home field advantage much?
Home field advantage actually being a thing, but at the same time, it's what they're flying down. How many people who have received the vaccine? It's not 75,000, right?
No.
Let's look into that
if
now.
it's 75,000, I would be...
Super Bowl attendance 2021.
The thing is, right? The vaccine isn't completely
Seven-
foolproof.
22,000 total fans, 7,500 vaccinated healthcare workers will be invited for free.
Oh. Okay.
So I knew that it was either 7,500 or 75,000. Definitely, I mean, at the same time, it's like, if you really want to prove the vaccine works, throw 75,000 in, but if it doesn't work, that's a super spreader.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, what the heck, man?
But anyway, getting back to your point, it's, first of all, the fact of the matter is that you just know how many times are they going to throw in during the broadcast how the Patriots, the Buccaneers are the first team to ever do it. Because, they did that shit with the Vikings
Yeah.
throughout the playoffs a few years ago. It was either they're talking about birds flying into the stadium because it was glass, or they were talking about, will the Vikings be the first team to do it?
Yeah.
And it was like, well, no.
I mean, that's going to be the whole storyline when the Bucks have the ball.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And Brady back to pass. Will he bring home a championship in front of this home crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's past dinner time there. Like, everybody's sleeping. Everybody is sleeping.
What, like a 6 o'clock game, right?
It always starts 6:40, or as Floridians would call it, dessert time.
All right. Anything you
Sorry,
want to say about
I had to take a second to pause to figure out when dinner time is and then calculate. Like, it might be too late for dessert at that point, too, for the retired community.
You want to say anything about either of the...
I mean, what did you really expect? The Bills, fought the most at the end, but the Packers did stupid things. Packers, it's weird because, like, the Packers and the Steelers kind of mirror themselves as very similar organizations in how they treat themselves. But the Packers in the regular season consistently hold themselves to a higher standard, only to do something really stupid in the playoffs. Whereas the Steelers do something stupid like during crunch time of a regular season game and then further do it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So kicking a field goal down 8 when you do understand how bad Green Bay's defense is, right? Like, we're not like heat checking the Green Bay defense like they just stopped Tom Brady 4 or 5 straight times.
Yeah.
And so to kick that field goal,
but at the same time, like, what? You'd think they go for a touchdown, they go for 2, they probably don't make it.
Well, but the weird thing is, after all this, yeah, they probably don't make it, but then they get they have to try for the onside.
I mean, I think they have to try for the onside kick in either situation.
No, if they get the 2-point conversion, they don't.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, but like looking at it after the game, it's like, how does if you're Aaron Rodgers, you'd probably be pissed enough to want to be another quarterback that's on the move. It's like Aaron Rodgers instead says he wants a contract extension. Kudos to him for staying loyal, but it's like they
At some
didn't
point,
trust.
like,
They didn't trust you at the end of the game. So like, I don't know. And now we find out today off the graphics that last night Matt Stafford got traded to the Rams in exchange for Jared Goff. What is it? A second-round pick and 2 first-round picks. That's how badly the Rams think of Jared Goff. They had to throw in 3 picks with him to Detroit.
What the heck, man? I'd trade Matt Stafford for Jared Goff and 3 picks.
Yeah, no shit, you do it for him and 3 picks. Detroit's gonna have 2 first-round picks for the next, or not this year, but I think the next 2 drafts after this year.
The thing is,
Why
I'd probably
not
trade Matt Stafford for Jared Goff and a pick, let alone 3.
I'd trade Goff or Stafford and like a 5th-round pick.
Yeah. That
The
is
Detroit
crazy.
GM who absolutely fleeced the other guys. So yeah.
All right.
Oh, and also the Texans apparently want 2 defensive starters for that. That defense that is clearly just missing a piece, which it's not. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And as well as 2 second-round picks and 2 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson.
But if you compare it to the Matt Stafford for Jared Goff and 3 picks, that's more reasonable.
Well, no, but you're not giving up the quarterback. You're giving up like 2 pieces of your defense.
Yeah.
I don't know that 2 pieces of defense equates to a quarterback, but that's quite a package.
Huh? But again, like, I think
4 picks in 2 players.
But I think this trade for Stafford is going to inflate the trade market.
I guess how much could Matt Stafford really be worth 3 years from now?
But I mean, like, if Matt Stafford could get the Lions, Jared Goff, and 3 picks.
Apparently, Matt Stafford said, "Trade me anywhere but."
Anything else you
I'll
want
tell
to
you about Bill Belichick after Tom Brady leaves.
about?
that quarterbacks are saying, "Trade me anywhere but there."
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Oh, what?
I mean, I don't really know who's going to win the Super Bowl. It's supposed to be close.
I mean,
I could
I'm
see it
rooting
going
for the
either way.
Chiefs.
I could see it going either way because, like, I don't have that same hatred for Tom Brady anymore. But at the same time, I feel like, and I've said this for the entirety of us doing the podcast, this guy will not retire on a losing note.
Yeah, but
He will
I'm rooting for
retire
the
a
Chiefs.
winner. I think that the Chiefs have the best chance of any team that was in the playoffs to do it. But I think the Buccaneers. I told Sam this the other day. I think if the Buccaneers are effectively running the ball, they'll take up enough clock to make it close enough to win. If Mahomes gets going early, I think it's the Chiefs to lose.
All right. On to the day.
Yeah. Breathe. Come on. You got this.
All right, so you want to go through some?
Yeah, so this is like this was 2.5 weeks ago now. But James Harden got traded to the Nets, and we're here to review it because a lot of moving pieces were involved here. The Pacers got Karis LeVert, and then I guess in the physical, found out that there was something going on with his lungs or something like that, and that may have saved his life in his playing career because so he can now get treatment for it. And then the Pacers get a second round pick from Houston because Houston just decided to give up everything in the kitchen sink, for this. It was a lot of weird pieces because don't forget, now they have John Wall there. They traded John Wall for Russell Westbrook, and that's all still very weird to see. And then they get Victor Oladipo in Houston, but the rumor is Oladipo, I think, might be in the last year of his contract, so they might trade him again. They got Rudion Carricks from the Nets, Dante Exum from wherever he was playing. I know he used to play for the Jazz. 4 unprotected first-round picks from Brooklyn, 2022, 24, 26, and Milwaukee's 2022 pick they acquired. Just like our childhood, the Nets are mortgaging their future. And then on top of that, they have the right to swap first-round picks in
the other 4 years.
Yeah. So basically, to close out the day. And then the Cavaliers got Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. All this very fascinating stuff, all for a James Harden player who does not play great defense, and a Nets big three trio that is seemingly always missing a piece, whether that be Kevin Durant, who is right now shelved during an ACL injury, Kyrie Irving, who's either always having a knee injury or a spiritual awakening injury, or James Harden, who's just actually the healthiest of the three in terms of he always shows up, but he over.
Yeah, but since the trade, Brooklyn 6-2, and the others are some 4.
Yep, this is true. Again, it's weird because the Nets are only going to be as good as their health allows them to be. And the Nets went from one of the teams that maybe had the deepest bench in the NBA to having essentially no bench. Jared Allen was, an elite defender. Karis LeVert was a solid bench scorer. And then you get rid of the first round picks. Taurean Prince was a solid bench player as well, who played both ways. And now you gave up all that balance for a guy who has no balance. And then you mortgage your future on top. It's very, very Nets.
Right.
They do this all the time.
Yep. Anyway, standings as we see. The Nets are 1.5 games.
It doesn't mean anything. I mean, honestly, standings. This is when your roster is what the Nets or the Bucks or the Celtics or the Lakers is. It just doesn't mean seeding doesn't mean anything right
now.
When playoff time comes, whoever is able to wake up will wake up and they'll dominate. That's just how the NBA works.
Want to bring up?
Nope. 10-8 now. 10-8 now. Lost some money betting on the Mavericks money line last night against Suns with no Booker, but we're hovering around 500 right now. We're not as hot as we used to be.
All right.
I'm talking gambling wise. I don't mean we used to be up 8.5 units. Now we're down to being up 4.5 units.
All right. Anyway, on to. So, first things first. Alexis Lafreniere, Jack Hughes played.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let you take this one because this is what you wanted to bring up.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a really early game in this season. It was only one game, also, which is kind of weird. Most of the games going forward are 2-game series. So to see a 1-game Rangers Devils in there was kind of weird.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what happens when you have a tri-state area kind of thing. Yeah. You can swing this between New Jersey and the New York team.
Yeah, because Yeah, but it was a good game to see how things shape up. I don't think Lafreniere played bad in that game.
Are you gonna do any more window dressing on this before you get to your take?
Um, I mean, I just wanted to, bring up the
Yeah.
game itself because I did want to talk about the game a week ago.
Okay, yeah, no, let's do that. Let's do that. Come on.
Anyway, yeah, with Nico being out, right? So Hughes took up the number one center spot, and I think he did really well with it. But he also benefited from being there because, as much as like we saw Hughes in that game, you didn't really see Lafreniere doing much. But that's a product of
I guess. I mean, Hughes in the product that he was playing with last night was, or not last night, last year was just as invisible. And
yeah.
the New Jersey Devils haven't exactly added pieces, so what explains the launch this year?
Well, I mean, he's getting to play with the top line though, because last year he wasn't either. He wasn't playing
Well,
with the top line at all.
well why was Nico Hischier?
Huh?
Why was Hischier on the top line? Is he an all-star caliber player?
I mean, he's definitely. I think you want the. I think Isher is the better true center
Okay.
than Hughes is, but Hughes is more dynamic of a playmaker from center, not in actual terms of like face-off win.
Okay. Fair
So
enough.
that's why I still think that Hischer is a first line on our team.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I think Lafreniere going forward will do well. I just want to be able to actually see him like play in games. I feel like he kind of in the games that I've watched, I haven't noticed
Hmm.
uh do much if anything. And I mean, his current stats do reflect that. He's one goal right after 7 games.
Yeah, but at the same time, your guy Hughes over there had what, five? How many goals last year? I can't read the graphic.
7. He was 7 and 14. 7 goals for.
And his brother, who was drafted in what, the sixth round, had like double that
Yeah,
for points.
yeah. But then again, you're also like I really feel like New York has the weapons as to where like Lafreniere should get some assists pretty easily.
I mean, New York brought in Truba. They brought in Panarin a couple years back. They still have Benajad,
Yeah,
uh, Buchnevich, whatever the fuck his name is.
exactly. So I mean, I'm just like kind of surprised that it's taken him like a while to kind of like show anything.
Well,
'Cause-
they still need a stall brotherhood. The Rangers aren't the Rangers that get to the playoffs until they have a stall brother, whether it be Mark, Eric, or Jordan.
yeah.
There's only one that hasn't made it. So, or no, two. I forgot there was a fourth stall brother. Oh, what was his name?
I don't even. But you're also like another thing to take from these stats is like you look at face-off percent, right? He's on 35% average.
Jared Stahl.
And at least in 7 games, Lafreniere is so. I mean, that just shows you he's excelling. This is having a tougher time, and I think like I'm not just like sitting there scared. It's like, is Nico Nico gonna win the faceoff? He actually has a chance. I'm like, when I see Hughes in the off circle, all right, well,
Why don't they put Hughes and Heischer on the same line?
I mean, I don't think either of them play well as a wing.
Okay, so you're just going to keep Hughes on second line center, even though he can't win faceoffs?
I think he like the thing is right. He's good with the puck as a center,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like so different playing a wing where you're constantly interacting with like when you're in the center, right? You do rotate around with your, but you have to understand the open ice because you're not always the one that's just gonna go to the boards and duck something or catch a pass, a wrap around. So I think that I think that it's just different. I mean, I'm not saying that neither of them could be a wing. I just think that it's
Fair enough.
all right. And you want to bring up about this?
Not really. I don't really have a dog in the fight on either of these two. I hope that the Penguins kick both the teams' asses, even though this season means that they won't, because all their games go to overtime. And if you're a gambling person, never bet puck line for the Penguins.
All right. Anyway, so on to the next thing. So Sharks, they have 12 of their games on the road. Back a while ago was only their first. Made it 12.
Yeah, and this kind of ties into, when we found out that, the 49ers can play any of their home games. In California, they would have had to do it in Arizona, which they ended up having to do. So I guess they extended that into hockey season to the point and into 21 because
So
and yeah, go
word
ahead.
is they get cleared to play at home on the 13th.
From what we understand,
Yes.
yes.
That's when the restriction.
Okay.
So I mean, it's just pretty weird to look at. I mean, I don't recall a where on long of a. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously,
Oh yeah, for sure.
uh,
And they have how many points?
I'm not 100% sure.
Let me look that up.
But yeah,
Yeah,
like
keep going.
it's just like weird seeing a team always on the road. Tune into a game, it's always road, and I don't know. I'm kind of feeling for Sharks fans. At least like I can watch my team have like the different jerseys home.
Well, at least it's still that same core that they always had,
Yeah,
other than Joe Thornton.
yeah.
God, this is they're last in the West with 6 points,
Yeah, they only have
3 wins, 5 losses, and no overtime.
two.
Plus
Hopefully.
minus of -9.
All right, yeah. So anyway, on to there are COVID protocol things happening.
Is it
So,
time for them to get rid of Martin Jones? By the way,
huh?
I think it's time for them to get rid of Martin Jones. But the Sharks, although Devin Dubnak is their other goaltender, so this is oh
yeah,
boy, real Sophie's choice.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we have a fair few amount of people on the COVID list. We have Jesper Fast, Hurricane.
The Hurricanes previously being in some kind of COVID hell, right?
Yeah. Because like if you look, they just removed Slavin from. But yeah, they were in a pretty. But the Blackhawks have 5 people on the list. Red Wings also have 5 people. Have 2. Devils have 4. 2 of them being goaltenders. Had to sign Wedgwood the last minute.
You know, leave it to one certain position group to get all the fun.
Yeah, Golden Knights have 1 person. Alex Pacioretty. Capitals have Kuznetsov and
Mm-hmm.
notably
Well, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Patrick Laine. Laine cleared, I think, now, but
yeah, he's just
Luc Dubois is obviously under a different circumstance,
yeah.
like Laine, because of the trade.
Yeah, but Ovechkin is notably off the list.
Yeah,
Orlov
got
is off the list.
Got taken off on the 29th.
Yeah, Patrick Laine is
Mhm.
11. And out of the people on the list, ones are Connor Carrick for the Carpenter Blackhawks. So I mean,
It's weird because you look at the Blackhawks and you're like, oh, having 5 players out doesn't mean anything. Or I'm sorry, you look at the Red Wings and you think having 5 players out doesn't mean anything because they're so bad.
yeah,
You look at the Blackhawks and you're like, geez, that might be a difference maker.
I
Not
mean,
that the Blackhawks are supposed to do much, but they're supposed to do like relatively okay.
right, but like DeBrincat's on the list and Boquist,
Yeah.
and those are two pretty good players.
Not to mention they're missing Taves this year.
So I mean, it's a different look for some.
Mhm.
Like, we'll see how teams react, and hopefully this list doesn't get too big.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully we see good protocols in action.
Well, the good news is 3% of the world, or not the world, the country is vaccinated.
3%, is that the actual number?
Yeah, something in that ballpark. So by the end of the season, we'll be a-okay at like 10%.
All right. Anyway, on to the standing.
I can't wait for this fucking pandemic to take like 15 more years because we can't generate enough vaccines.
Anyway, on to the standing. So in the North, they all are sponsored, right? So
Everybody's sponsored.
yeah,
The Mass Mutual, was it East?
yeah. Scotia North, Honda West, and
If I discovered the Central, I'd know so suck.
anyway, so in the North, Toronto is on top with right now a 7-2.
Doesn't mean anything. Look, the whole Canadian one can be for because these are all teams that won't win in the playoffs. Every Canadian team has a fucking history of choking in the playoffs. If they get to the finals, they choke there. Good for the Maple Leafs for being first in the division, by the way, because they're always normally being chased down by the Bruins or something.
Yeah.
Or they're always looking up to the Bruins or even like the Florida Panthers every like once in 8 years.
Yeah, but like I mean, if you look at this, right, if we have a 16-team playoff, that's 4 Canadian teams are going to make it.
Yeah, which is good because there's been years where no Canadian teams made it.
I know.
Isn't it like 2016, I think?
Yeah. Anyway,
How the fuck do you invent a game and not have any rep?
Montreal and Winnipeg are kind of doing really bad.
As to be expected.
Yeah. And Central Columbus is on top, but they only have 4.
I'll be the first one to tell you. Oh, go ahead. Never mind. We're talking about the Central.
In Dallas and Nashville. But yeah, they also have the
Yeah. Which, I mean, doesn't really mean anything right now.
well, but like this division also has teams at 4, which is it's kind of weird to see a large game. No, usually we're pretty good at being within.
Yeah, but it's not a normal world that we live in.
Nah. All right, and into the West, where everybody has 7 or 8 games played.
Yeah, because in the West, everybody still goes out.
Yeah, Vegas is on top at 11.5-1. We mentioned San Jose, which is at 5 at the bottom.
Why Vegas is at the top? Because you can gamble from at home.
Anyway, Colorado.
Yep. Colorado's supposed to be a cup contender. Minnesota, not so much. Minnesota is expected to be the same as they always are. They'll be a playoff team that doesn't do anything.
Yeah. All right, on to the Washington at the top, 5-0, followed by Boston. So Boston is.
I really hate that Boston is in our division. Why couldn't we just have Columbus?
Anyway, The two teams that we follow are at 9-8,
Yeah, but no.
9-3.
But we in my opinion, still haven't won. Because every game that we start with a lead in, we somehow almost blow or have to take to overtime to win. And every game that we start behind in, we have to go to overtime to complete the comeback or we lose.
Yep.
We haven't won convincingly any.
Okay. And the round out our division,
Fine with that.
worse than
They
but
deserve
not
to
as bad
win.
as Ottawa.
Well, if they didn't give a 90 mil, how much did Panarin get?
Oh, it was a lot.
Was it north of 100?
I don't think so.
That's just not how hockey works. You give that much money, $81.5 million
Oh, yeah, okay.
for an undrafted player. Well, he really got his money's worth back.
Any team you want to bring up that?
As I said, we haven't won a game yet.
Yeah,
So
for the
maybe
Devils,
even
like I've actually been quite surprised that we've got some games to.
I'm surprised you guys have been competent.
Yeah.
Is like basically just not wetting the bed is a great step forward for the Devils
They're
organization.
actually playing pretty
Although,
well.
there's already rumors that your GM might, because our GM decided to just leave abruptly. There's rumors that your GM might be one of the candidates that we're after this season because yours is contract is up.
But I mean,
So
our team is actually like playing well, or better than I thought we would at this. So I'm actually quite happy with how the Devils are playing. I don't expect them to be a playoff team at all. So they're doing pretty well.
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they jumped the Penguins. It would be embarrassing because of the roster makeup and that. How does a team with no real star jump Crosby, Malkin, Letang, etc.?
Yeah.
But I mean, the amount of PR and media attention that PK Subban will get for quote leading the team into the playoffs, despite the fact that he's a dumpster fire now.
Yeah.
He's the only notable player, name wise at least.
I mean, I agree.
He's the only hockey player sponsored by Adidas and Red Bull.
Anything else you want to talk about NHL?
I'm exhausted on this one. What about you?
All right, on to ML.
Just really spelling fun here.
All right, take it over.
All right, so yeah, again, another thing in the news from a couple weeks ago that now it's probably good we let this calm down a little bit, but the Mets GM who had the job for all of 37 days, when he was with the Cubs as a head of scout, or excuse me, the scouting department, decided that a foreign female correspondent was the best person to take this shot at. And if they're a foreign correspondent, maybe understand that there's some barriers there. B, if it's a foreign correspondent, maybe learn another language before you step to the plate here, in case it's not language number one for that correspondent. And C, most notably, maybe don't send 62 messages over the course of 3 weeks.
Culminating in.
Yeah, culminating in a graphic picture. One that if you sent it to your boss, you'd be fired. And in this case, if you sent it to somebody, not.
I mean, you'd probably be fired for sending that picture anyone if it got out.
Well, no shit. But like, I will say this: if you're like a college student and you send it to another college student, someone tells me if you work at the bookstore, you're probably not going to get fired. But someone tells me if you work at like a CVS, you're not going to get fired.
Okay.
But at the same time, if you have an actual career, then yeah, it's very different. Now, this being said, and I'm not going to advocate for this guy. I've been in this scenario where in high school and stuff like that, due to social anxiety and so I was not very good at talking to women. I probably sent a few texts to women that did not get responded out of social
But
anxiety and
did
stuff like
you
that.
did you
But
send
not
62?
62 and
Okay.
not over the course of 3 weeks. You got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them, and you got to know when to not take your drunk out. So you play when you play blackjack, you either hit, you sit, or you either hit or you sit. You don't take your dick out and say, "I want another hand." That's
Yeah,
not how it
this
works.
is just excessive. Like, let alone 60 some that are unanswered. Probably should have stopped 45, 50 messages.
No, it has nothing to do with quantity of messages. It's quantity of weeks. That's the thing, because it's like, well, you're supposed to, as a guy, you're supposed to give a girl how long is a grace period for responding, like 2-3 days. So that's after like you send 2 or 3 messages or 1 to 3 messages. You do not keep sending in that span. Eventually you wait. And so to send 62, this guy did not follow the golden rule, which is eventually you wait. I mean, let's do some math here. 62 divided by 21 means he was sending about almost 3 messages per day, not responded to.
All right.
I
Yeah.
mean, 3 isn't high, but after about a week, it is. Actually, after about 2-3 days, because then once you hit 9 messages, you're like, okay. Once you can fill the whole screen with only your messages and not somebody else's,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
when you're
like,
like, delete the number.
this is just excessive, man. Like,
Yeah. Well, no shit, it's excessive. Otherwise, the guy wouldn't have been fine. But you know what? It's the Mets, and the Mets have to do things that align with what the Mets organization does. They got a nice owner who likes spending money now, and even though he bought GameStop when it was going up, which is going to prove not to be a smart idea, this is what the Mets do. They do incompetent shit, and shit doesn't change.
all right. Anything you want to wrap it up with?
No, we're not ending with the words "wrap up" either, because we're not connecting the dots. Let it go. We'll catch you guys on the next episode, number 83. And as always, fuck Paul's Ice. I can do better radio than.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and catch you next time.